The Timberwolves, they've been huffing. They've been puffing, but they are trying to blow the house down. Anthony Edwards has his eye on this in year 6, and we saw him last night in the preseason. He'd previously spoke about making improvements during the offseason, specifically to his midi.
Every day just going in the gym, knowing what you're going to work on, I think that's the most fun thing about it. And I think C. Hines had a great quote. He said, "Greatness is boring." So it was a lot of boring days in the gym just working on one dribble pull-ups, but I think it benefits me.
So the first possession of the game, we saw that, right? Edwards regains his dribble, and then he knocks down that mid-range jumper. More on that because he's been in the lab working on that coming up in just a second. And then later in the first year, Edwards dribbles, knocks it down. Remember, he was the league leader in 3 points made last season. Right. That was his goal, Ramona, in the offseason. We saw that coming to fruition. And then Edwards, again, look how many defenders he gets past right here. Knocks down the acrobatic finish.
60% of the team.
Yeah, nice finish there by Edwards. And then later in the game, we got one more play for you. Sizing up the defender, pulls up, nails the jumper. He had a nice showing of that improved mid-range. He finished with 17 points in this one. So remember when he came into preseason and media day, he said he wants to win MVP. He also said he wants to win Defensive Player of the Year and a couple of other things. But we thought we'd take a look at the odds. 20-1 to win MVP, which are the 6th shortest odds in the league, while the Wolves, they have 10-1 odds to win the West. Those are the 5th shortest. So Shams Charania is here with us as well. Bobby Marks, our front office insider, Ramona Shelburne. Shams, I want to start with you because we had heard from Anthony Edwards. He has all of these goals that he stated on media day. But what has he been doing to really try to drill down in this offseason to improve?
So the Timberwolves lose second year in a row, quick exit in the Western Conference Finals in May. Then days later, Anthony Edwards shows up to the Timberwolves practice facility in June, and he was a consistent part of playing and participating in all basketball activities in that facility from June onward, the entire offseason. And what the Timberwolves saw is leadership from him, and that meant that other players, other vets on that team followed suit. And it was a very active gym for the Timberwolves in the offseason. And from a basketball shape perspective, my understanding is he showed up to training camp with a 3.5% body fat percentage.
Isn't that like what bodybuilders have?
Elite body fat percentage for Anthony Edwards. I don't know where that stands in terms of how elite, but it has to be up there.
Bobby, from you to...
Well, I don't know about me with body fat. I thought you were going to say my body. And listen, I went back and looked at LeBron. When LeBron came out in 2003, he was at 6.7%.
Wow.
So when you look at Anthony Edwards, here's a player who's played 79 games 3 years in a row, has only missed a total of 9 games. The one thing I'm interested in, and Shams made a good point about his mid-range game. Last year, we saw 3-point attempts at 11 per game. The prior year, it was right around 6. So there was an added increase last year to go outside on the perimeter. Is that going to go a little bit lower this year as far as with the focus on the mid-range?
This is a shot diet from last year that we're looking at, and we know what Anthony Edwards can do, right? But is it just on him individually here, Ramona, for this team to be able to take the leap in a Western Conference that's become even more crowded?
Well, if you ask him, it is, because he is a leader, as Shams was talking about. He's going to put that on himself. But I think it's a big part of this is on Julius Randle. And he's signed to an extension here. He's settled into Minnesota. Last year, remember, he came over in that end of the offseason or early part of the preseason, kind of was still processing, getting traded from New York.
Yeah.
And I think he's really talked about how much that last couple of months in New York affected his mental health. Now he's comfortable in Minnesota. They have a whole season to integrate him into that offense. They know how to play together. And in the playoffs, what did we see Oklahoma City do? They targeted Anthony Edwards. They were swarming him. If he has another guy who can score, who can create for this offense, that's going to take so much pressure off of him.
I think the other question for the Timberwolves here, right, is point guard. They started Mike Conley in this preseason game, but he's going to be a 20-minute guy a night, not necessarily a 30-minute guy a night. We've seen Rob Dillingham maybe a little bit. What are they looking at there, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this since I think I remember we were doing Summer League, and you said, who are the X Factors for Minnesota? I said, Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon, because you lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker to Atlanta. Now you have Dillingham, who you drafted in the lottery a year ago. You have Shannon. I would look at Dante DiVincenzo also, who they acquired last year in that trade. But this is an important year. I went back and our great research group looked at the last team that got to a conference finals 3 years in a row. Minnesota's done it twice and lost was that Pistons team from 2005 to 2008. But remember, they won a championship the year prior to all that. Minnesota hasn't yet.
whoever it is at point guard, I think the Timberwolves are hopeful that there's a different part of Anthony Edwards' game that's going to get unlocked and make the offense easier, especially in the fourth quarter of those late game situations in the playoffs. When the ball stagnates, you don't want Anthony Edwards just dribbling all the time around the 30 feet, 25 feet line, and he's having to deal with double teams. If you can get him in that mid-post area, that's where he spent the offseason working on his mid-range shot, his post-up shot, his post-game, his fadeaways. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant were his two inspirations this summer. He studied their film. I'm told he has an intermediary with Michael Jordan where he's getting advice from MJ as well on what he can do with his post-game. He spoke a little bit about it on Media Day.
Biggest surprise, though, at least for me to come out of this column, how about the Warriors? They're projected at 56.1 wins. That's the second highest in the league, and 10 wins over where ESPN Bet has them right now. So whether the numbers back them or not, the confidence, it is always high in Golden State. I spoke with Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond leading up to the season. Take a listen.
It seems like whenever we talk about the Golden State Warriors, we talk about the phrase maximizing the end of Steph Curry's career. Do you think that the Warriors, even dating back to the Jimmy Butler trade, do you feel like that's what's happening here, is a maximization?
I think you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to what that actually means.
I'm asking the chef.
I know, and the idea of, like, you know, it's really unique what we've been able to do, for how long we've been able to do it. Like, we're relying on that expertise and IQ and knowledge now, you know, to overcome Father Time. Me, Draymond, obviously being here for as long as we have, and Jimmy, you know, joined us last year. I'm excited about it.
When Jimmy Butler was traded here in February, you said that this team, this group, is going to win a championship. Does that declaration carry over into this season?
It definitely does. Unfortunately, Batman went down with a hamstring injury, and it kind of changed the outlook on things a little bit. But nonetheless, we think we're even in a better position now to win a championship than we were last year. Last year, Jimmy didn't even know any defensive terminologies. We were just making it work. You know,
he was just yelling at Buddy.
Absolutely, you know, and so I think we actually have an opportunity to build this thing the right way and work towards a championship the way you have to do it.
We kind of got a little bit of a sample size last year, but it was a tease. But knowing that that was there, what can this team be this season?
At the top, which is what we know, it's what we envisioned, and what we're going to show everybody. We know, but you do have to go out there and you do have to do it. You got to compete and beat the best teams. And we got some really good players, one in particular, number 30. And like I always say, you got a really good chance when 30, AKA Batman, is on the floor. So life is good.
You could close the chapter now. 4 rings, defensive players of the years, MVPs, finals MVPs. But how much do you talk about that fuel for 5?
That's all we talk about. Like, getting that 5th ring, like what that would be like and what we need to do to get it done. That's the only focus, is to do that and get, like, when I talk about it, I'm at a loss for words, because how did we even end up in that position? You know, like, it takes you back. But yeah, you gotta snap out of it real quick, because we know what it takes to get it done. I think if we stay healthy, I don't see any team out there that we can't beat.
When you go toe-to-toe, top to bottom, we feel like we match up well with anybody, and we just want to have an opportunity to show that in the playoffs. The idea of when we won in 22, like, if you told me in training camp that this was the team that was going to win it all, like, I would have believed it. I think there's a little similarity there, but Jimmy adds another dynamic that we didn't even have back then, so I'm excited to kind of see it all the way through.
Anthony Slater is joining us now from the Bay Area. So, Slater, Steph is making comparisons to that 2022 title team, but how is the way that the Dubs are attacking this preseason? Does that maybe echo that year a little bit?
For sure. They went 5-0 that preseason, and they were just really serious about figuring out lineup combinations and getting their bodies ready, and you feel that now. They're playing all their guys again tonight. I hear they're going to try out a new, different starting lineup. They went small in the first game. I expect Al Horford to start tonight as they're just trying to get used to each other, because that season They started 11-1. They started 18-2. They hit some injuries that year. They lost 7 of 8, I think, in March, 4-game losing streak late in the season. But they had such a cushion early in the season that they were still the 3 seed. And I think that really matters to them. Whereas, everybody wants to talk about that sprint to the finish they had with Jimmy Butler, which signals to a lot of people they could compete. But I had somebody in the organization tell me today they don't want to have to go 23-8 late in the season. They don't want to have to sprint to the finish line because we know it's an older group, and they want to be able to be fresh when the playoffs start.
So if they're able to build maybe that little bit of padding, particularly towards the beginning of the season, they can withstand maybe some of those lumps and bumps that come with being an older team a little bit later. This team, though, Slater, it does have something, as you know, you covered that squad as well, that team did not, and that is a championship big man in Al Horford. How has he fit so seamlessly just 1 week into his tenure with the Golden State Warriors?
Really well, and I've talked to a few people around the team about kind of the recruitment of Al Horford, and Steve Kerr said by the time he talked to Al Horford this summer, there was basically felt like there was a commitment that it was going to be the Warriors, and it sounds like the conversation with Steph Curry was the thing that may have got it over the finish line, and Steph Curry's played with passing bigs before, Andrew Bogut, David West, even Kevon Looney. It's the type of bigs he likes. You saw the give and go they had the other night, which both of them are talking about, but he hasn't necessarily played with a passing big like that who also stretches out to the three-point line. Steph's really excited about that. And then Al Horford, he had a quote yesterday basically talking about how Steph just terrifies defenses every time he moves. And you could tell Al Horford's played with a lot of stars and different type of players in the league, but he's never quite played with a guy like Steph Curry, the gravitational pull he has on defenses. Yeah. And that's basically because nobody really does to defenses what Steph Curry does. So he's excited and it's working well.
Season 3 is almost here for Wemby. So we thought we'd take a look back at Victor's best moments from his first 2 seasons in the NBA here, Bobby. It all started on October 25th. This is against Luka and the Mavs at the time. His debut, he would have 15 points, 5 rebounds, and he was just getting started, right? Because that set the table for a historic rookie season. 8 days after that, 5th NBA game, he poured in 38 points, 10 rebounds against Kevin Durant and the Suns.
It's like, get away from him when he's under the basket because you will get posterized.
And then, turning the calendar to 2024, we got the signature play, right? The behind-the-back move that led to that poster. What were you saying about don't be under the basket on Brooke Lopez? A sight we would get used to over those first 2 years, because on February the 12th, we got to see his defensive prowess. He would record a triple-double with 10 blocks, Bobby.
I don't think he jumps. Does he jump on these?
Ask AD. 9 days later, stuffed the stat sheet. He collected his second 5x5 game, the second by a rookie in NBA history. And then on March 29th of that season, another full box score. 40 points, 20 rebounds against the Knicks, Momo.
Listen, he is on this very short list of players you need to watch every single night.
And so to his sophomore season, we did exactly that. Things got even crazier. November 13th, he recorded his first ever 50-point game over the Washington Wizards.
That's what I love. Right around the basket. Everything kind of right in the post.
And then we wondered, what could he unwrap on Christmas? Well, that's when he piled in 42 points, 18 rebounds, and 4 blocks in his Christmas Day debut.
He's in the Garden. He's going to show out.
Yeah, and that's making him appointment TV on the holiday now. And then, of course, in late February, that's when the Spurs, they would shut down Wemby for the season. We're so glad that he's better after that deep vein thrombosis. The really scary thought, though, for the league here, because Wemby's gotten even bigger. He's gotten even stronger. Have you guys seen this? Yeah, he was listed as 7'4", 210, and then sometimes 7'3", shoes, no shoes, all that. Now he's 7'5", and he said he weighs 245 pounds. So for more on Victor, definitely check out Michael C. Wright's piece on ESPN.com, Inside Victor Wembanyama's Summer Transformation, and he joins me now. Poof, look at that transformation. We're all tracking Wemby's travels across the world this summer, Michael, but what stood out most to you?
Well, obviously the China trip, that stood out a lot because, that DVT, that diagnosis was very shaking to Victor, and like he really kind of contemplated life and like just how to make the most of his life experiences. So in China, in addition to the Kung Fu, he did a lot of meditation. And what you've got to understand here is that Victor really wanted to center himself mentally, and he said that through that whole process, he learned a lot about himself. But let me take you to NASA. There, he picks the brains of a bunch of astronauts, and one of those astronauts, her name is Peggy Whitson. Well, you know what? That woman spent 665 cumulative days in space, so she knows a little bit about mental toughness. And I think Vic absorbed as much as he could to get himself better mentally so he could be better on the court physically.
Oh, wow. When you said take us to NASA, I was like, that's a transition we're going to be using when Victor Wembanyama is tipping off against someone. Look, he took us to NASA. He looks even bigger. He looks even stronger. He looks even more confident this preseason. How is the off-season work translated onto the court here, Michael?
Have you seen it? The man is out there doing things that only Victor can do, obviously. But, he went out and spent some time with Hakeem Olajuwon, and Hakeem told me that he told Victor that, hey, don't think of yourself as a big man that has guard skills. Think of yourself as a big guard, right? So he's been doing that. And like just the other night, Victor said, I passed up some shots that I could make with my eyes closed so I can find a teammate that could hit a shot he can make in his sleep. So that's what Victor is doing. He's playing a little bit more like a guard, using all of the skills at his disposal to help the San Antonio Spurs be successful on the court.
And they're going to need that, particularly with some of their guards out here early on in the season. But you're standing in Houston right now, ahead of Kevin Durant's expected preseason debut. Michael, real quick before we let you go, what are you watching tonight?
I am watching how the Houston Rockets can facilitate offense. I got to spend a little time with Ime Udoka the other day, and I was asking him, like, what do you do with Fred VanVleet out for the season? And Ime said, look, it's not going to look traditional. It's not going to look, just the traditional point guard way. He said, but we feel like we have all the pieces on our roster that can get the job done. And so that's Kevin Durant. That's Amen Thompson. That's Reed Shepherd. That's Alperen Sengun. And they've got plenty that can facilitate offense. So it's going to look a little different, but Ime is very confident that they will get the job done.
J.J. Redick, Lakers taking a cautious approach with LeBron James ahead of his 23rd season. The Los Angeles Lakers officially kicked off training camp on Tuesday, but one major name was missing from the court, LeBron James. Head coach J.J. Redick explained after practice that LeBron is dealing with a minor nerve irritation in his glute, and given that he's heading into his unprecedented 23rd NBA season at age 40, the team is taking a deliberate and careful approach to his ramp-up during camp and preseason. It's probably going to be a longer runway leading up to opening night, Redick said. We're in uncharted territory here. After talking with the staff and with LeBron, we all agreed he may have pushed a little too hard in last year's training camp. And for me, as a first-year coach, having his full buy-in was incredible. But this year, we're being more methodical. He's got 22 seasons of wear and tear, and right now, he's dealing with a slight nerve irritation. So we're thinking long-term. There's really no blueprint for what LeBron is doing. No one has ever played 23 seasons in the NBA at this level. But what Redick is doing now is learning from how things were handled last season and adjusting to make sure the Lakers have their leader healthy and ready for the stretch that truly matters, the regular season and beyond. You're going to hear me say this a lot. It's uncharted territory, Redick emphasized. There's no roadmap for a player who's logged this many minutes, carried this much responsibility on both ends of the floor, for this long. We asked a lot from him last year, especially early in camp, and now we're working together to find what truly works best. The good news? LeBron is fully aligned with the plan. Everyone, from the coaching staff to the medical team, is on the same page. Still, there's no confirmation yet on whether the plan includes LeBron suiting up for any of the Lakers' 6 preseason games. It'd be great if he did. Of course, Redick admitted. We'd love to see it. But if not, we'll make it work. While seeing LeBron in preseason action would certainly help build chemistry, especially alongside Luka Doncic and the other new starters, health comes first. The Lakers are making it clear, this season is a marathon, not a sprint. LeBron on training camp plans, we'll figure it out. When LeBron James spoke at Lakers Media Day, he echoed Redick's approach. It's all about being smart, not rushing, and staying engaged. We're still figuring it out, LeBron told ESPN when asked about his camp and preseason availability. Of course, I want to be on the floor as much as possible, but we all know where I'm at, physically and mentally, and the coaching staff knows it too. We just want to make sure we're aligned when the time comes to step on the court. This is year 23 for me. I've made huge strides this off-season. I've been training all summer. But even when I'm not on the court, I'm still locked in. I'm tuned into everything we're building. That's what matters most. As training camp progresses, the Lakers' approach with LeBron has sparked discussion across the league. While some fans are eager to see James back on the court as soon as possible, most analysts agree that the team is making the right call by managing his workload from day one. Inside the organization, the message is clear. preserving LeBron's health and effectiveness over the course of an 82-game season, and potentially a deep playoff run, is far more important than a strong start in October. The decision to ease him in slowly isn't just about his age, but about sustainability. The Lakers are building their strategy around maximizing his impact when it matters most. Beyond LeBron, this also gives new head coach J.J. Redick a valuable opportunity to assess the rest of the roster more closely. With James sitting out portions of training camp and potentially the preseason, younger players and recent acquisitions are getting extended reps in practice, a crucial factor as Redick shapes his rotation and offensive system. Reports from camp indicate that Redick has already started experimenting with lineups that don't rely solely on LeBron initiating the offense. That includes more touches for Luka Doncic in primary ball-handling situations, as well as a larger role for supporting pieces like Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. The hope is that, by spreading the responsibility, the Lakers can reduce the physical burden on James while improving overall team fluidity. LeBron's role off the court has also taken on new importance. Several teammates and staff members have noted how engaged he's been despite limited on-court participation, constantly communicating, observing drills closely, and offering feedback to younger players. It's a continuation of his evolution into more of a mentor figure, one who still leads by example but also understands the power of his presence and voice in building team culture. Around the league, other teams are taking notice. The cautious strategy mirrors what the Spurs did in the later years of Tim Duncan's career, or what Miami has done with Jimmy Butler in recent seasons, prioritizing long-term readiness over short-term gains. In LeBron's case, the stakes are even higher. Not only is he still playing at an elite level in year 23, but the team around him has been reshaped to support one final push toward another championship. As for LeBron himself, he remains focused and optimistic. Speaking briefly to reporters after Media Day, he emphasized his commitment to doing whatever is needed, whether that means leading on the court, guiding from the sidelines, or stepping back when necessary to ensure his body holds up for the full campaign. The question now becomes how this slower ramp-up will affect the Lakers' early season performance. Will the chemistry develop fast enough? Can the team find its rhythm without relying too heavily on James in October and November? And when he does return in full, will the calculated patience pay off? One thing is clear, the Lakers and LeBron are thinking bigger than just the next game. They're thinking about April, about June, about legacy. And in year 23, every decision matters that much more.